of national, local, international news and sport. Tune in to News Punch and Diamond 88.7 FM. News Punch, all about the news.
It's 1 minute gone past 9 a.m. Good morning and thank you for joining us on today's edition of News Punch and Diamond 88.7 FM in Ilorin, where we bring you the trend and stories across the globe. My name is Mekamua, Osigbodi. Here are the stories making waves across the world. In Nigeria, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has warned that this year's general election, which is months away, faces a serious threat of cancellation if the waves of insecurity in parts of the country fails to improve. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, represented by the chairman board of Electoral Institute BEI, Professor Abdullahi Abduzuru, gave the warning on Monday in Abuja at the validation of election security training resources. According to him, to this end, the National Security Advisor NSA, General Mohammed Babagana Munguno, and the chairman INEC have jointly assured the nation that the conducive environment will be provided for successful conduct of the 2023 general election, but warned that if the insecurity is not monitored and dealt with decisively, it could ultimately culminate in the cancellation and postponement of elections in sufficient constituencies to hinder declaration of election results and precipitate constitutional crisis. This must not be allowed to happen and shall not be allowed to happen. In Kogi, the Kogi State Governor has accused the Ohinoyi of Ibira land, His Royal Majesty Ado Ibrahim, of fulfilling his earlier threats of snubbing President Muhammadu Buhari's visit when he was in the state to commission projects. The state government, through the Ministry of Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, had issued a query to the first-class monarch accusing him of insubordination. The Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Barrister Salami Momodu Ozigi, said a panel that will be set up to look into the matter will be dispassionate, diligent and rational, and will ensure fairness, equity and justice. And moving on to the international scene, where Rwanda says it can no longer offer refuge to people fleeing violence in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, stoking already high tensions between the Central African neighbors. Persistent fighting in the east of the mineral-rich DRC pits federal troops against rebels from the M23 group, which has captured swaths of territory. The DRC, along with the United States and several European countries, has repeatedly accused Rwanda of backing the Tutsi-led rebels from M23, although Kigali denies the charge. In the exciting world of sport, 72 days after beating Germany to finish third at the Under-17 Women's World Cup in India, players and officials of the Flamingos are yet to receive their allowances and match bonuses, with some of the players telling newsmen they virtually went begging for money to celebrate the Yuletide. One of the players, who spoke on condition of anonymity for fear of being victimized, said she and her teammates begged for money to celebrate Christmas and New Year. It was also gathered that players of the Falconets who crashed out from the quarterfinal stage of the Under-20 Women's World Cup in Costa Rica were also yet to be paid. That's all we have for you on this edition of the News Sponge. Up next is the Diamond Breakfast Show, where we bring you analysis of the stories. Do stay tuned.
The major talking point in Nigeria are always on the lips of the citizens.
What's going on in this country? Look at smaller countries taking lead, and you call yourself giant of Africa. Yeah.
Nigeria don't spoil my business too much. Nigeria is too hard for us. I mean, I want to kill us. Father, not kill us for Nigeria. Oh, please, so help us back them.
They should reduce their expenditure so that they can free enough money for social development.
I wish for a Nigeria where we elect a leader based on competency and not popularity.
On the Diamond Breakfast Show, we place the spotlight on the critical issues in the country.
Government that says they are broke can prioritize construction of an additional runway over education of the people.
How can you hold Indomine? This is intolerable. It's provocative.
Now, you see, when you look at our democratic journey, we are yet to practice genuine democratic system in Nigeria.
Join us on Mondays to Friday on the DBS from 9 to 10 a.m. The Diamond Breakfast Show, amplifying the voice of the people.
From the studios of Diamond 88.7 FM in Lorry, this is the Diamond Breakfast Show. It's 6 minutes after 9 a.m. on the 10th of January 2023. Welcome to the Diamond Breakfast Show. This is the show where we go into in-depth analysis of the stories making the rounds in the country. And as we get straight into the conversation today, bear in mind that we're live on Facebook at Diamond 887 FM. Be sure to drop a comment in the comment section or join us on YouTube at Diamond FM Ilorin. Also be a part of this. Share the live video to your friends and other people so they could be a part of the conversation. Bear in mind that you could also join us via the website www.thediamondfm.net. Right, as we get into it, you could also send a message via WhatsApp 0913-655-6864. With me in the studio today to join in the analysis of some of the major stories from the week is Barrister BC Adedayo, a legal luminary, veteran journalist, and public affairs analyst. It's great to have you in the studio, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. And listeners at home, good morning and compliment of the season.
All right. It's a brand new year. We're just 10 days into the new year, so I'd like to ask, how are you faring, sir?
Well, very well, very well.
Right.
Except that, of course, as we go into the new year, a lot of things that is not being expected are happening.
All right.
So except that, of course, the new year is a very welcome development.
All right, then. Let's dive straight into the stories that we have for today. And we go with the first one. Now, a rally organized by the Yoruba Nation agitators yesterday turned bloody, following a clash between the protesters and the police, which left a yet-to-be-identified man dead in the Ojota area of Lagos. Scores of others, among who were two policemen, sustained varying degrees of injuries, while two police vehicles were burnt. There were different accounts as to how the crisis that disrupted commercial activities in the ever-busy area started. An account said that the agitators assembled around the Gani Fawemi Freedom Park in Ojota for a rally to demand a separate nation for the Yoruba people of Nigeria. The rally as gathered was peaceful until the arrival of some policemen who fired tear gas canisters to disperse them. Some of the agitators also alleged that the policemen shot at them and also battered some members with their batons. Another version of the account had it that when the police arrived at the scene to ensure that the rally did not disturb the peace of the area, some miscreants who hijacked the rally hurled stones at the policemen, demanding that they leave the place. The altercation, however, degenerated into a shouting match. It was alleged that there was a gun duel between both sides, leading to the death of the unidentified man who was among the agitators. Meanwhile, the Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò of Yoruba land, Gani Adams, has debunked media reports that members of the Oodua People's Congress, OPC, were involved in the crisis that erupted in Ojota. Gani, in a statement by his special assistant on media, Kehinde Aderemi, said the Ojota rally came as a surprise, adding that none of his members were part of the crisis. And here's my first question, right? The Yoruba Nation agitation seems to be the theme of the current ongoing in Lagos State, or Jota area of Lagos State. Is it a reasonable revolution or a different medicine for a contrary ailment?
Well, for me, that protest is very unfortunate. Although the Constitution allows any member of Nigerian society to protest, but by the time it has gone violence, of course, it doesn't make any sense again. As far as I'm concerned, I don't see any reason why any ethnic group in Nigeria, not to even restrict it to Yoruba Nation alone, will now agitate for dismemberment of Nigeria. Because this is election year, all of us, we are aiming high to see leaders that will merge, leaders that will really address our problems. I mean, it is high time we have to forget all the things that has happened in the past. If not, we are not going to move forward. So the timing of that protest was ill time. They shouldn't have carried out any protest at all. Because I am a nationalist. In spite of the fact that we have mirage of problems, catalog of problems bedeviling this nation, that is not enough for us to say the only solution to this is to dismember our nation from the federalism. No. Of course, the leaders we are expecting to emerge this year, these are the duties, these are the responsibilities that we bestow on them. What it is expected, we can restructure this country so that things will go on smoothly. But protests, we want to go out of the nationhood, the IPOB, all these people. I mean, don't forget, Sunday Igboho, aka Sunday Adeyemo, aka Sunday Igboho, is currently in Benin Republic now, if I'm right, based on something that has to do with Yoruba agitation. Nnamdi Kanu is in DSS detention, even though the court gave him freedom, discharged and acquitted him. That notwithstanding, is still in the cooler now. All these things bordered on their activities, their participation in agitation. Agitation, I mean, nobody is saying you cannot agitate, right, but agitate positively. It is not everything that has to be revolution. No, it is. I mean, the nation is evolving, and when a nation is evolving, don't forget that we'll have attendant problems. Even the advanced democracy today also pass through what we are passing now. So Rome, as he used to say, was not built in a day. Rather, we should give our leaders some time.
Now, no group has expressed support for this tragic course that happened. Now, could we attribute this written script by some individuals to start a quest that can affect all activities in 2023? Because when we started and I asked how you were faring, you mentioned how that some certain events for 2023 you were not expecting them. So could we attribute this also to something like that?
Yes, of course. You will know that there are some people behind the scene who are causing all this havoc. Don't forget, the leader of that Yoruba nation agitation, Professor Akintoye, stepped aside recently. Perhaps due to one thing or the other, which of course we didn't know. Although the reason given to us was that as a result of that, the man is aged and that he needs to resign his leadership of that. Even beyond that, I know some people might have spoken to him for him to see reason why they should drop that idea of Yoruba nationhood or Yoruba agitation. So definitely, I am very sure that there are some people behind the scene who are pushing these people, who are fueling this thing, who are financing all these protests in order to ensure that the 2023 election will not hold. And that would be too catastrophic for the whole nation. So, I know, but the good thing is that, of course, the security men are on top of that situation.
Right.
And that was why it was not snowball into a very bigger violent crisis that will even lead to declaring a state of emergency in Lagos State.
So, now, a similar situation is that in the East, the IPOB. The Biafra is not a dead history, and the resurgence of that long dream of the Southeast is still fresh in that region. Now, Yoruba agitation. Do we have the right, in terms of governance and tolerance, to achieve unity in the country, considering everything that's currently going on?
Well, it's quite unfortunate. You see, the founding fathers of this nation were nationalistic enough to agree that the divergent ethnic groups that we have in Nigeria, we can come together under one umbrella of a nation called Nigeria. the late Amadou Bello, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and host of other nationalists, of course, knew that they didn't speak the same language. And as such, they worked together and agitated for our independence to be under the umbrella of federalism. And that was why, even during the First Republic, we have parliamentary system. I mean, each of the region, to a very great extent, are very autonomous. But with the incursion of military, they return Nigeria to unitary state. So what I'm saying in effect is that the crop set of leaders that we have now, many of them, I stand to be corrected, many of them are not patriotic. They are not nationalistic enough to have a Nigeria wherein everybody will have equal opportunity, where there will not be nepotism, where there will not be favoritism, where there will not be any sort of sentiment, where I will see myself first and foremost as a Nigerian rather than a Yoruba man, wherein Hausa man and Igbo man will see themselves as a Nigerian rather than, belonging to their ethnic bloc. So, but the set of leaders that we have, instead of them to promote all this, they are the one preaching ethnicity, preaching religious bigotry. So, and that is why we are presently in the situation we are now. I didn't mean that they really inherited what the forefathers, the founding fathers of this nation gave to them. We will not be in this problem that we have today.
So it's safe to say that if we had patriotic leaders,
yes,
leaders who are nationalists, at this point we would not be having issues like this.
Not at all. We would not be having issues like this. Look at the way their campaign train. Instead of them addressing issues, they are addressing primordial issues. What has electionary campaign got to do with campaign of calumny? Present your blueprint. Let us know what is expected of you by Nigerians if eventually you succeeded to get our mandate. But, of course, what they are doing is, it's never expected of leaders in modern day world of today. They succeeded in abusing one another. They succeeded in digging deep into individual privacy. Of course, that is not what democracy, the tenet of democracy, is all about. If you have good programs and manifestos for the people that you want to lead, then tell us, how are you going to address the problem we have in education? How are you going to address the problem we have in health sector? How are you going to address the problem we have in the oil sector? These are the things that are expected from Nigerians rather than what they are doing today. So that is one of the bane of Nigerian society today. They are not the expected leaders. They are not patriotic enough. That is my own assessment of virtually all of them.
Well, that appears to be the reality that we currently face in the country. But with the leaders that we have, what should they do to douse the brewing tension for secession?
Okay, very well. You see, the leaders have lots of things to tell Nigerians in order to douse the current tension that we have. Let them preach peace to their supporters, to their ethnic supporters. Because if we look at it holistically, you will see that virtually all the parties, to some extent, are ethnically based. What I'm saying is they are not nationalistic enough. If you talk of, say, PDP, the strong base of PDP today is Southeast, if I'm correct. Then, of course, we will say the strong base of it, perhaps it is APC that we may say to a very great extent, it has a nationalistic look, because go to the north, go to southwest, perhaps they affect. But the other parties, as far as I'm concerned, they are more or less ethnically based. So, and if that is the order of the day, it will breed problem for Nigerian nationhood. Because if I didn't see you first and foremost as a Nigerian, and I'm seeing you from the perspective of another angle, that is a very greater problem that we have. So the leaders, the current leaders of today, have a lot of job to do in dousing this tension by letting their supporters, by letting the old Nigerians know that they are after peace. They have, because without peace there cannot be development. We cannot even move forward an inch. So the desired peace that we will have to have it, because the current peace we have now is a piece of the graveyard. That is the truth. And except the leaders come together to say, look, let us forget whatever our political interests are. Let us work towards unifying Nigeria as a nation. If not, even after 23 election, we may still continue in this problem. So that is the way I see it.
Now, away from the leaders that we have, other stakeholders in this country, starting from the citizens and major stakeholders in the country, what part do they have to play also in stopping this?
You see, the unfortunate thing is that if we take statistics of the current Nigerians, you now discover that we have, let me say, about 90% of Nigerians who are below the poverty level, who are wretched, who are unable to even afford 3 square meals a day. And you see, the problem in such a situation is that he who pays the piper will definitely dictate the tune. So our leaders who have amassed enough wealth, they have every power, financial power, to direct their supporters whichever way they like. So to some extent, I agree with you that even the masses also have some part of this blame too. But when you look at it, somebody who is not well fed, an English wise saying an hungry man is an angry man. If I'm not fed, there's nothing you ask me to do. If you give me anything, that I will not do it. And that is the current problem we are having. So even though they share from the whole problem that is facing the country now, but that could be understood from their economic level.
Right. Now, for a while, poverty has been weaponized by the rich towards the poor. It's been the reality of the country for a long while. At what point does that stop?
Poverty?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Not just poverty now. Poverty as a weapon in the hands of the rich. At what point does it stop?
Okay. Well, I don't see it stopping in a very short while. The reason being that except and until the government, any government of the day, address the attendant problems that is bedeviling the nation, that is confronting the masses. What are these problems? They cannot shy away from the fact that they didn't know the problems that are confronting all of us. They know. But the rich people among us, perhaps let me say the ruling class, they will not do it because they know if they do it, they will not have controlling power over us again. If I'm well fed, if my children are well educated, if my children after schooling they were gainfully employed, why do I need to come to your house to hail you in order for you to give me peanuts? I will not do that. And that is the weapon being used by some northern leaders, quote and unquote. If you take the statistics of Alimanjiri in the north today, I don't see anything that the so-called northern leaders are doing to alleviate their problems. Billions of naira were expended on elementary school. How many of them have you seen that have graduated from such schools? So poverty is a weapon using or being used by the ruling elite in order to pauperize the Nigerian masses the more, because they know that if we are on the same pedestal economically, then what it means is that there's no way they will be able to control us whichever way they like. If I look at those people, the Boko Haram people, is it not poverty that is worrying them, that led them to what they are doing today? But of course, all of us are suffering for it, and will continue to suffer for it unless and until we have a good government. You see, we are so blessed in this country in all ramifications, except we didn't have good leaders. That is the bane of the country. If we have good leaders, we don't have any point to complain of lack of anything, because materially we are blessed. By virtue of resources, we are blessed. Human capital development, we are blessed. But trace our origin from Independence Days 1960 to date. Those people who we perceive to be good leaders, their tenure short-lived, and all of us are living witnesses to it. So, and that is why I agree to some extent with Abalola that the best candidate may not win election. Of course, that has always been what we have been witnessing since then. But that is where we are.
Right. All right, let's get straight into the next story for today. But bear in mind that we're live on Facebook, Diamond 887 FM. Be sure to drop a comment in the comment section, same as YouTube, Diamond FM Ilorin. You could also send a message via the WhatsApp platform 0913-655-6864. Barrister BC Adedayo is in the studio with me, and we're currently analyzing stories making the rounds in the country. Barrister BC Adedayo is a legal luminary, veteran journalist, and public affairs analyst. The second story for today: the Edo train hijack is quite disturbing. More disturbing events occurred in the last 48 hours in the state. The president of Igwebuen Area Customary Court in Edo State, Mrs. Precious Aigbonoga, was kidnapped. She was kidnapped yesterday morning around Ugeneiki axis on her way to court in Igwebuen local government area of the state. This is coming less than 12 hours when the former Edo State House of Assembly member versus Edu Gele was kidnapped in the same axis. Now recall that over 30 persons were abducted in the same axis on Saturday while waiting to board a train to Warri in Delta State. 6 victims of Saturday's train attack in the Igwebuen area of Edo State have been rescued. They were part of the 31 persons who were abducted when gunmen attacked a train station in Igwebuen local government area of the state. The victims were said to be waiting to board a train heading to Warri in Delta State. The Edo State Commissioner for Communication and Orientation, Chris Nehikari, in an update about the incident on Monday, said some of the victims have been rescued. A breakdown of the figure showed that the freed persons included a nursing mother, her baby, and a 6-year-old child. Security operatives in Edo State arrested one of the suspected kidnappers involved in the kidnapping of 32 passengers at the Igwebuen train station in Igwebuen local government area of the state. Barrister BC, 3 kidnaps in the same spot in Edo. Is it a case of knowing your problem and being lazy to find a solution, or what is currently going on?
Well, I agree with you on that assertion. You see, the security challenges that we have in this country did not just start yesterday. And the government of the day know about this, know the security challenges that is facing us. Of course, what the federal government will tell us is that the security apparatus are trying their best possible to ensure that we nip all these things in the bud. But to me, their best is not enough. Don't forget the Abuja train saga that happened. only God. In fact, we are all living witnesses to the number of months that the victims use in kidnappers' den. And in fact, at the end of the day, when eventually they were released, we learned, though reportedly, that they have to swap with the leaders of Boko Haram and all the bandits that were in government detention.
Custody. Well, Barrister BC, just before we go on, let's go on a quick timeout. When we get back, we go into more analysis of this. Stay with us. This is the Diamond Breakfast Show.
Are you trusting God for the fruit of the womb? Or you are trusting God for any special miracles? Then Harvest of Babies and Miracles is for you. The Redeemed Christian Church of God, Region 4 Kwara State, invites you to Harvest of Babies and Miracles, Kwara 2023. TM Joy Connect, a 6-day deliverance service specially designed for those trusting God for fruits of the womb, politicians, businessmen and women, and so on, and all manners of miracles. Date, Sunday 15th to Friday 20th, January 2023. On Sunday, the program starts 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. On Monday, morning session program 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Evening session 5 p.m. On Tuesday 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On Wednesday morning session program 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Evening session 5 p.m. On Thursday 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On Friday 5 p.m. Ministry Pastor and Pastor Mrs. J.F. Odeshola, Pastor Dele Balogun, Pastor Nathaniel Adijuwo, Pastor Dekuleshu Emmanuel, and other anointed men of God. Guest artist Evangelist Elijah Akitude aka Olorun Sobe, Kwara Region 4 Mass Choir, and other artists. Pastor E.A. Adiboye, General Overseer. Your miracle awaits you. Jesus is Lord.
One man knows Nigeria, understands the people, and knows how to get Nigeria back on the road to growth. His capacity to navigate numerous industries towards growth and expansion is tested and trusted. No one needs to show Atiku Abubakar how to move Nigeria forward through challenges and onto greatness. He already has a sure plan, a strategist in entrepreneur and job creator. Atiku Abubakar knows Nigeria, knows our people, and knows the world. Atiku for sure. PDP! Power to the people! Sponsored by the Atiku Okowa Organizing for Action.
Diamond FM, radio made for you. Diamond FM, radio made for you.
Well, 32 minutes after 9, this is still the Diamond Breakfast Show, a show where we bring you in-depth analysis of story making the rounds in the country. My name is Mekamua Osigbodi, and I'm here with Barrister BC Adedayo, who is a legal luminary, public affairs analyst, and social commentator, and a veteran journalist, of course. And currently we're talking about the incident ongoing in Edo State. Now, Barrister BC, you were mentioning on how that some of them were in the government's custody.
Yes, before we went on commercial break.
Right.
Like I was saying, the victims of Abuja Kaduna train were released based on some other things that went underground between the federal government and those people. And don't also forget that just recently, I think December either 20 or 20, I wouldn't even remember the date precisely, when the Nigerian Railway Corporation resumed its operation after that unfortunate incident. And now another kidnapping again in Edo Aziz. I mean, what exactly are our security agencies doing? Because from what I read from the media, we were told that even this train will be accompanied by security agencies. One or two security agents are not enough to man security on train. I expect that the security agents should be more in numbers than perhaps just few numbers that were attached to the train to accompany the train on the journey. And look at the catalog of the kidnaps that we have just mentioned now. About 3 in the same zone in Edo axis there. So, and like I said earlier, if you look at it, it has some political undertone. It has some, I mean, some people want to score political, I mean, they are using it perhaps in order to discredit one party or the other. I don't know, but of course, that is my own assessment, so to say. So, and that is why I align with people who are calling, who are agitating, who are advocating for state police. State police, we know the terrain very well than somebody who is brought from Bonu to come and man security this thing in either in Edo or any place in southeast or south, or somebody taken from south to northwest, northeast to go and manage security situation there. He may not know the terrain, he may not know the topography of that place, but if somebody is recruited within, definitely they will know the terrain and the topography of the area very well. And of course, the security responsibility will have a positive effect.
Now, it is glaring that our security structure, intelligence gathering, and results are appalling. Who do we fault in this regard?
You see, the unfortunate thing about our security architecture is that they are being infiltrated. That is the very truth. If you must call a spade spade, they have been infiltrated. If not, when we were born, we have not had all these type of unfortunate incidents of kidnapping, banditry, and what have you, because that time, in fact, intelligence gathering was super, and there was loyalty, there was patriotism on the part of those people who are recruited into the security agencies. But tell me, somebody who was recruited or who got recruited by payment of certain amount of money, so what do you expect? Do you expect the person to be patriotic? Do you expect the person to be nationalistic? Of course, you have to look after the money that he paid before he's being recruited, and that is the problem. That is one way or the other wherein these people are the security agencies are being infiltrated by bad eggs. Of course, I understand the fact that there's no sector that does not have its own bad egg, and that is what is happening even within our security architecture. So, as much as possible, the government, both at the federal and the state level, should wake up to these challenges. Yes, they said the state governor is the security something at the state level, the chief security officer. But when it comes to recruiting of police or saying if there's anything, and does the governor has power to call on commissioner of police at the state level to say, oh, deploy your men to this place? Except the CP has to get a directive from the Inspector General of Police. That cannot be done. So all these things has to be looked into with a view to coping all these security challenges that is facing us in the board. If not, if we go as we are going into the next election, I'm not a prophet of doom, but like Yakubu Mohammed, the national chairman, rightly said, it may not be, the election may not be feasible.
Now, speaking of election, recently, is it fair that there's been more attention on elections than a serious issue like security that, if not treated, looks to be a present for the coming administration, and maybe not a pleasant present? Do you think it's fair that we're more focused on the election than the current security issues that we face?
Yes. The election is on the front burner of the federal government now, because after the 8 years term, the 2 terms by the current ruling government, they have to step aside for a new government. And there are rumors, unconfirmed report or rumor to the fact that perhaps President Muhammadu Buhari is trying to elongate his tenure. And Mr. President has been saying it repeatedly that he doesn't have such an idea. I will not do it. I see the only way to convince Nigerians that yes, I'm not interested in staying longer than necessary, as one of our head of state used to say. Mr. President must convince us, yes. And that is why all attention are drawn on the election. Now, coming back to the second leg of your question. A situation where the security is not intact. How do we have a successful election? Because the bandits, the kidnappers, the Boko Harams, I'm very sure they will be gathering their arsenal now to say, okay, on the day of election, we know what we are going to do. So how many electorate will come out? And don't forget that before you can claim to have won election, for instance, as a president, you must have gotten 25% of all the states, at least 2/3 of the whole Nigeria. As a state governor, you must have gotten 25% of the state you wanted to govern. So if electorate didn't come out, how would this one be achieved? So of course, what it means is that the purpose of even having election will be defeated. And that will not be a credit to Nigeria. Don't forget that in 2000, in fact, the tension in 2015, to me, was even more higher than what we are having now. Because even that time, the Americans are saying Nigeria will dismember. 2015 will not stand. But thank God and thank our leaders, both past and present, Nigeria is still very intact today, even though we have a series of problems that is still bedeviling us.
Now, just before we dive into the last story for the day, you mentioned America, even if it's in a different context. Do we need the help of the international communities to get things right?
Well, the question you just asked is very relative. You know, Nigeria cannot stay in isolation. There are some areas wherein we need the help of international community, especially the advanced democracies, the US, the UK, in the area of security. They can assist us because they are very advanced. I remember sometimes ago when an American was kidnapped, they came all the way from America to rescue the kidnapped citizen, from Sambisa forest. If that is done all the way from America, then what stop them from assisting us? Since we are just third world country, they are advanced virtually in technology, in everything. So there are some areas where we have to where we will call the assistance of this international community to please us. This is our problem.
All right, let's move to the final story for today. Just before we open up the phone lines for the callers to call in and be a part of the conversation for today. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, once again warned that this year's general election, which is months away, faces a serious threat of cancellation if the waves of insecurity in parts of the country fails to improve. The INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, represented by the Chairman Board of Electoral Institute, BEI, Professor Abdullahi Abduzuru, gave the warning yesterday in Abuja at the validation of election security training resources. This is not the first time the Commission would make this statement. The security situation is scary, even though INEC is not exempted from attacks from unregistered groups. Now, if security is a determinant in the elections and even beyond, does the attitude from the government and security agencies suggest the government is aware of this?
Of course, the government is aware, very much aware, and I think they are also doing their best possible, though their best is not enough. And like the INEC has raised an alarm, yes, it is good so that it will tell the government and the security agencies, the apparatus, for them to buckle up. Because if election materials are being ferried or transported to where election will hold and they are being attacked, what happens? What will be the result of such an election? Or peradventure, God forbid, people excuse me, people queue up to cast their votes, and there were attacks from right, left, and center. No electorate will wait to cast any vote. So the alarm they are raising now is a very good one, so that everybody will be at alert, security-wise.
All right. Attack, kidnap, and communal clashes are traditional security issues affecting the country in the past years. Attack on INEC offices is a new trend. Does this look to have a political undertone?
It has a political undertone, yes. And don't forget, the attacks on INEC offices is not general in Nigeria. I mean, it is restricted to a particular political zone. And that is the political undertone that is there. We have not recorded any attack on INEC offices, for instance, in Kwara, as well as other northern part of the country. And we have not recorded any attack on INEC offices, even in Southwest. So even we know where all these attacks are restricted. Definitely, it has some political undertone. Some people are behind it, are behind all these attacks. And what their aim is not far-fetched for us to know or to understand. They didn't want election to hold in their region or in their geopolitical zone. And that is why they are fueling this attack virtually on everyday basis. And that will not speak well for Nigeria 2023.
Now we have less than 20 days. We have less than 60 days to the coming election.
Yes, yes.
What should we do to douse this fear and reduce the tension?
Okay, I've said it earlier. What we need to do is first and foremost for our leaders to come to reality that Nigeria has become an indivisible entity. And as such, they should preach peace. They should see themselves first and foremost as a Nigerian rather than as the ethnic bloc they belong to. Then secondly, the government itself should try as much as possible to provide conducive atmosphere for people to cast their vote. What do I mean by this? Government should ensure that security is provided for citizens and properties of this country, because it is by so doing that people will be at rest. That yes, I can sleep with my two eyes closed, then I can go to the polling booth to cast my vote without any molestation, without any harassment, without any attacks. Then, and of course, the citizens, the masses themselves, should not because even most often it is the masses that promote all these some of the problems that we have by their manner and their actions. Right. So they should behave. Nigerian masses should behave responsibly as good Nigerian citizens, as patriotic Nigerian citizens. We should see ourselves as one, because it is the wisdom of God that has put us here as one indivisible entity, and we should try as much as possible to abide by that. Every other problem we have, let's pray for good leaders to emerge.
All right, then. Well, this is the part where you are part of the conversation. Let's start off with the messages that we have off Facebook. The first one says, the protest is so unfortunate due to our present challenge in the country. You remember Sunday Igbo. Also, you remember that Tinubu running for president. Do you think that it will not affect our election? Please, some people are behind this to use it against Tinubu. May God bless Nigeria. The rumor now is that Tinubu may endorse separation if elected. And this person goes on and he says, we need prayers. All right. Another one says, yes, poverty is meant to be used by rich to control the masses. Please, how can the government reduce this increment of commodities? Jamiu from Edun Street. That's what this person says. All right. You could also send a message via the WhatsApp platform 09136556 6864. Those messages were off Facebook. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. Now you could call 0913-655-6952. Ensure that you turn on the volume of your radio, I guess, precise as possible. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, good morning, sir.
Good morning. What's your name and location?
Adigun from Elekoyangan.
All right, Mr. Adigun, go on.
Happy New Year, sir.
Same to you.
So, this conversation you brought today, so my opinion as in my advice for people in Nigeria, as well as the youth, let us adapt unity and peace reign in our culture and also in religion.
Right.
So, this Nigeria, no matter for me, for you, in the corner for you. And my brother, I need to say this. In my place here in Ijara Isi, if you go outside this year, in our Pinkabis, Adibola, I also work with them. That is conflict, unit, so come. So, and also, you make a point about poverty. It's just people in our area and our leader. I used to all the poverty people in Nigeria, and one line poverty.
Yeah.
Help them in Nigeria. And also the third, about the security.
Right.
I make a point about security this morning about Lamito Abi.
Yeah.
So I don't know to make a point more about that. So we need to pay for that. Let us come together, don't have together. God bless Nigeria. This is my comparison for today.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. 0913-655-6952 to be a part of the conversation. You could also send a message via the WhatsApp platform 0913-655-6864. Good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
I think one of the contestants in this coming elections is very, very desperate.
And what's your name and location, sir, before you go on?
My name is Hassan Abdurrahman from Ikagumo, Ilorin.
All right, go on, Mr. Hassan.
Now, one of the contestants, to my understanding, is very, very desperate about these coming elections. And that particular contestant doesn't want the visa system to be in operation. So, and this is why we have these incessant attacks on INEC offices and all that.
Well, your claim, do you have evidence to back it up?
That's another thing. We must have perhaps a documentary evidence.
Considering what happened in 2019, the attack from banditry, the attack from the kidnappers and all that, it's not just coming like that. There are some people behind these things.
Well, we understand that there are certain people behind these things, but we cannot confirm these people except we have solid evidence to back it up.
Considering they are aware of electioneering campaign. If you go by the trend of the electioneering campaign, you will discover that one of the contestants is very, very desperate. And they don't want, this particular contestant doesn't want the election to hold.
Well, we understand that that's your claim, but except we have solid evidence, we cannot say that that's fact. 0913-655-6952 is the number to call to be a part of the conversation. Ensure that you come up with facts, of course, with whatever claim. Hello, good morning. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Dr. Zil from Cherry School.
Good morning, Dr. Zil.
Yeah, it's better for the person that called now to say all politicians contesting are always desperate than saying one of them. Because the truth of the matter is that all of them, they are desperate. And I want to tell you that you can't really fish out which one is which one. So that's it. Then concerning all that you've discussed, let me start by saying in brief, when it comes to the Yoruba agitation, what they did, it is not right for them, and it shows that majority of them that gather themselves at this point in time and they are saying they are protesting for one nation, they don't know what they are doing. If they have been given money to go and do that, they are just facing it. At least as one of them lost his life now, let him go and say whatever to God. At the end, I want to say that in Nigeria, let's not deceive ourselves, we are not one. We are never united because the religious leaders, politicians, they are all preaching division, nepotism, tribalism, and that is what you see. So, and for us to keep saying that we should come together, it must start from the leaders. If the leaders are not saying we should come together, there is no way we can come together, and we can never be together because we are just here by law, and law should not be what we make us to be together only. We should love to be together, and if we say we don't want to be together, one day we definitely go our separate ways, if not now, later. So we should just learn to manage this one that we have for now, because one day there will be solution to all of this nonsense. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Zil. Well, on the final note, Barrister BC Adidayo, what are your words?
Yes, let's not forget, just for 1 minute.
Right.
This contraption of ING, which was mooted by somebody, we have to be very careful. Because with the alarm raised by INEC, as well as all the problems that are happening,
right,
if care is not taken, we may end up in buying that contraption of ING, and that would not be good for us. Then on the final note, well, let us see ourselves as Nigerians, first and foremost, and let us whip up something that will bind us together rather than something that will disintegrate, that will separate us. That's my final word.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister BC Adidayo, a legal luminary, veteran journalist, and public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation today. It was such a delight to have you in the studio.
Thank you very much.
All right, this is how far we can go on the show. It's the Diamond Breakfast Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Happens same time tomorrow, 9 till 10 a.m. It's the Diamond FM 88.7, your shining supreme station. Right after now is the news in our native dialect. And of course, after that is Eba Adasi with Ishola. Be sure to tune in and have a great time listening to us. My name is Mekamua Osigbodi. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Diamond FM, your one-stop dial.
What did I say, huh? What did I say? I told you no touchy. Now you suffer the bite of the lion and the clenching jaws of an alligator.
No touchy. Especially not a fan of Diamond FM.